Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Zero Talks. I'm their host, Kayla Winter, Director of Product Services and Winemaking for BevZero. Give me a minute while I add our host to the stream. Go. One moment, still getting used to this. Okay, invites are out. Super excited about our guest today. Two phenomenal members of the Shirley team. Let's see. All right. Hi, everyone. So many people joining. Nice to see you.
Hey,
Hello, Jess. Welcome.
thank you. Happy to be
Yeah.
here.
Yes, thank you. So everyone, this is Jessica Smith, Director of Operations at Shirley.
Hello.
How's your day going?
Going good. Just buttoning up some packaging that happened and getting ready to do the next round.
Yeah, not a bad problem to have, always in production.
Right.
There's Ryan. Hi, Ryan. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Good. All right, everyone, this is Ryan Hanson, founder and CEO of Shirley. Welcome.
What's up, everyone?
All right, lots of people joining us, which is great. Hello, everyone. Cool. Well, let's just jump right in. I'd love to hear from both of you a bit about your backgrounds and kind of what brought you into the non-alcoholic realm.
For sure. I could start that off. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what got me into the non-alcoholic background? I think I'll kind of start my story where I got into kind of the health and wellness startup world in Austin, Texas, about 4 years ago now. So I joined a early stage keto business, and I think really good CPG companies. Our motto was like, how do we make keto easier? And I think really good CPG companies are like, how do you make being healthy easier? And so I think I was just at a point in my life where had done a lot of kind of corporate America type jobs, and I think like a lot of other people, they just like didn't feel super fulfilled by the work I was doing. So I wanted to get into startups. I was really intrigued by health and wellness, and joined that keto business, and thought it was really cool about how we were able to build a community around like being healthy and making that easier for people. And I think I got to a point in my life where I was kind of just reassessing my own kind of like health and wellness and said, I think everything I do is pretty healthy besides alcohol consumption. And I think that's a conclusion that a lot of people are arriving at these days, and I think that's certainly what's fueling this kind of moderation movement, conscious consumer. And I kind of looked at the landscape, and it seemed that there was a lot of really cool stuff going on in beer and spirits, but nobody was doing anything in wine. And when I moved down to Austin, I always wanted to use that as a jumping off point to start my own business. And I think just that whole story and all these pieces just started to come together where it was like, hey, let's like see if we can do a non-alc wine project. So that's really a little bit of the origin story about like my background and how I kind of came to the idea of like, let's try to launch a non-alc wine company.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's really cool, and I think you're bringing a different perspective. We have clients who are doing startups from all kinds of different backgrounds, but coming from the corporate world and bringing that business background into the space, I think is definitely a part of your success.
Yeah, for sure. I think people always ask me like what's the most difficult thing in the first year of business or whatever, and I'm like, I know a lot of the core business stuff. I don't know how to manage winemakers in a wine tasting room. Like I have no idea what I'm doing, especially day one. And I can let Jess jump in here about her story and kind of how we got connected. But we started off the project, a non-alc wine project. We're like, okay, I didn't know anything about even de-alkalizing wine. So like we got a winemaker, then we got in touch with BevZero. Um, and like I had literally no idea what I was doing about a year ago. So I definitely knew early on I had to surround myself with a really talented kind of product and wine team to make sure that we were going to be best in class. Because I think, especially in a new category like this, I always say that to be a true alternative for people, it's got to taste good and it's got to be available when you want it. And the
Sure.
taste good part is, obviously important. And I knew that I was going to need some help to figure that out for sure.
Definitely. Well, speaking of your great, amazing team, Jess, love to hear more about your background.
Yeah, so as you know, I was actually with BevZero for about 7 years. So that's how Ryan and I, met up with each other. We were doing a lot of Shirley wines and um, reached out and was looking for a new opportunity and saw that they needed some help and thought I could bring some expertise to the table of not only the de-alc side, but also just the movements and the herding cats, if you will. As you know, it's a lot of movements between getting the product to sending it to you guys, to sending it to packaging, to sending it to the warehouse. Um, so I knew that I could be a key in helping make sure that, we can get from A to B to C.
Totally.
Yeah, we were working with Jess. We launched the business in November 2020. I think that's when our first production was. I forget how many cases it was, maybe like 250 cases, but it sold out in 30 days. And that's when we were like, okay, this is a real business. I was still working at my last company, trying to see if like I was gonna jump into this thing full time or not. It was still TBD at that point. But we felt like the product was validated when we sold through 250 cases in 30 days, just like threw it up on the internet, all really organic traffic and that kind of stuff. And so we tried, like, we needed like another production, which I was not prepared for. So we're working with Jess to like scramble and figure this out. Like, hey, we have all these customers, we have no inventory. And I think, Jess, you came on, was it April
No,
or
June of last year, June of
June,
2021.
June. So we for like 6 months, myself and our part-time winemaker were trying to figure out how to like scale production. Jess was super helpful uh, on many different projects that we were trying to move quickly on, and we had posted a job, but I don't think we even knew what we needed. And Jess basically hit us up and was like, I think I know what you're trying to communicate here. This is not a great job of communicating like the job description, but I think I know what you need and I can help. So we should like chat. And so I think I forget what we labeled it or whatever, but Jess was basically like, I see you guys drowning, and I really want to be helpful, and I like what you guys are doing. So I'm just gonna like redo the job description for myself and basically just hire myself to help you guys out. So I don't know, Jess, you were probably the fourth hire or something like that. So this is
Yep.
all like really early days stuff. Like, uh, and Jess was a savior because I had a lot of anxiety about production, especially when it was like all on me. Felt like every production, I was just like crossing my fingers, like, I hope this goes well. Like, I really just had no idea. Like, I just didn't know what I didn't know. And
Yeah,
so I think, I slept a lot better after we brought Jess on board.
that's
Well,
fantastic.
that's great.
Okay, Jess, tell me, like, were you, I don't know, what did you think would happen when you walked in and basically told someone before they hired you, hey, you're doing these things wrong, but I can help? Were you pretty confident?
I don't think I actually came out and said you were doing things wrong. So we could do it better.
Okay,
I'm sure you
fair
were
enough.
very pleasant about it. But I do that has always stuck with me where it was just like, hey, you don't know what you're doing. I'll do this for you. Like let's rock and roll.
Sure. Yeah, well, we love Jess. It was, if you didn't catch that earlier, she was a BevZero employee before Shirley got her, but at least you didn't go too far. You just went from one side of the office to the other. So great. No, you guys have a great team. It's always been a pleasure to work with you. Yeah, so I'd love to talk a little bit about kind of where Shirley got its start in terms of like the name and if there was, you were saying, Ryan, that you saw that there was a need for wine specifically. And did you start with kind of one idea, one SKU? Was there a certain kind of niche market you were trying to hit?
Yeah, so the way that myself and my co-founder Justin kind of think about business and the way to leverage direct to consumer e-commerce to kind of like test entrepreneurial ideas. There's a lot of like um, kind of low cost ways to test out a hypothesis on the internet. You can just create a website, create a product page. You don't even have a product, and you can put it on the internet and just see if people are clicking it and like willing to buy it. So we
Hmm.
did a little bit of that early on just to be like, would people buy a non-alcoholic sparkling rosé for 24.99? And we felt confident that the answer was yes. So then we funded a first production. Um, and um, I think that sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Where am I going with this question?
Um, just into the kind of the beginning of how you guys got started.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, you asked a question about why wine. I think that I was personally somebody who was like never really big into beer in the first place. And I think we wanted something that was just like really easy to understand in this new category, like non-alc sparkling rosé from California. We just felt like that was really crystal clear about like what it was, and easy for people to understand. Um, and so I think we kind of did that early internet testing, and that was kind of our validation for it. And we weren't taking the naming too seriously at that point in time. We kind of just got to a point where we're like, okay, the data says we should try this. We haven't even thought about a name. We've just been drinking, you know, unlabeled rosé. We're like, okay, if we're gonna like sell this to people, we got to have like a label. And we did kind of the trademark searching, which is kind of difficult because there's a ton of trademarks already taken in the wine world. A lot
Yeah.
of like these companies are just like owning these trademarks and not actually like launching any of these products. Somewhat frustrating. But Shirley was just a riff on Shirley Temple. We're like, oh, non-alcoholic Shirley, Shirley Temple. Oh, we'll spell it like this. Okay, great, that works. We can get the trademark. Let's do it. And we for a while we told ourselves like, oh, we'll like change that at some future date. And then the company just kind of continued to like grow, and people seemed to like the name. It was like short, sweet, to the point. We thought it was really approachable, and we actually went through a whole naming exercise about changing the name Shirley, and decided like this is not what's holding us back as a business at all. There's like so many other things we could be focused on, and we're already building this brand equity with Shirley. So we
Hmm.
just decided to keep it. I think I wrote an email to the team that said, "We still love you, Shirley," kind of like announcing that we're going to stick with Shirley and move forward and focus on other stuff.
Yeah. All right. So the name has stuck, but you have done a few different kind of graphic and design rebrands. Now, a lot of the clients I work with, they really try to get the perfect graphic and design initially because they think that, it's just going to kill the brand if they try to change things up. You guys have done it twice. So I'd love to hear about that experience. Was it successful? I mean, clearly it is because you guys are still killing it. But yeah, I mean, was it a choice that was not taken lightly, or did you have full confidence it wouldn't really, mix up the consumers?
Yeah, it was definitely not taken lightly. I think that the advantage of being mostly direct to consumer is that it can be really confusing when you're in retail and you have like this mixed inventory and it's on shelf and you don't have this direct relationship with the customer where you can't communicate like, hey, this label and that label, it's the same thing, or here's the differences. In a direct to consumer environment, we can definitely take advantage of, hey, uh, we're changing this. This is why we did it. This is the difference, if any, in the formulation or the type of wine. So I think that as we continue to scale into retail, we'll have to be a little bit more, I guess, considerate about kind of some of those like packaging cutoffs between this label and that label. But I think the kind of impetus behind, um, I think elevating the brand, I kind of mentioned that story about like us just being like, oh, we need a label, like let's just do this. I think it was created in PowerPoint in like 30 minutes. So we just felt like, oh, okay, we could probably do better than that as the company was evolving. And we felt like where we were differentiated than other non-alc wines that were out there on the market is we were kind of taking this premium approach where we were, sourcing really high quality grapes from California, um, not messing around with the formulation too much, not adding a bunch of sugar or kind of unnatural additives. We're trying to keep it really kind of wine-like, and the whole idea behind the our product philosophy was, you don't want this like really sweet sugary wine, which we felt like was a lot of the incumbents there on the market, and we wanted branding to reflect kind of the premium experience that we felt like you were getting from consuming Shirley.
Hmm.
And I think it's, especially with wine labels and in a retail setting, like that wine aisle is really competitive. And it's like really intimidating for people. And even though we're in mostly most of our sales are online, we took a design philosophy that I was like, this needs to work on shelf because that's where we want to go. So we wanted to design for where we wanted to be in the future. Um, and I think that the new branding reflects is kind of on par with what we believe is the product quality. Whereas before, I felt like we maybe had a brand that wasn't on par with all the work we were doing from a product standpoint.
Okay. So really premiumization and kind of differentiating yourself in the market is were some of the reasons why you rebranded.
Yeah, we wanted it to feel like a luxury like when you're buying a nice bottle of champagne. I think that evokes like an experience, and you're popping a cork, and you got this nice, pretty label, and we wanted to replicate that experience. And just the only difference was there was no alcohol.
Sure. Yeah, people don't usually, well, most people, I would say, are trying to recreate an experience of drinking wine when they're drinking non-alc wine, right? So that makes sense. You don't want to feel like you're drinking something other than wine. So having the bottles and corks can be a huge um, driver for bringing people to your product. That being said, though, you guys have diversified. You have cans, you have bottles, still, sparkling, reds, whites, and even some spritzers. What is the most popular, or a few most popular products on the market for you guys?
Yeah, our sparkling rosé, which has just been around the longest, is definitely one of our most popular. Sauv Blanc, I think, has taken the lead at some point this summer, and we're really pushing cans because I think a lot of at least the seasonality that we're seeing is dependent on when and how customers are consuming this. So I think in the months where it's during the school year or colder months, you're going to see a lot of people enjoying it more so in their homes versus during the summer on vacation, going to the beach, picnics, all that stuff. People want the convenience of a can for kind of on the go. So I think we as a business are still trying to figure out exactly what the seasonality is for our products and for our different packaging formats, just because we've been kind of in this growth phase since day one. But I think that I'd imagine we're going to follow a lot of the wine trends for in kind of traditional alcohol, and that's why as a business we wanted to really make sure that we had options that could cover people throughout 12 months of the year. And I think when we started we just had sparkling rosé, and then we had the brut, and so we were just kind of like this sparkling company in a bottle. And I think Jess and Chris and Jean and the rest of the wine team have done an amazing job continuing to maintain and even increase the quality of our product while launching into these new categories and new packaging formats.
It also
Sure.
too, folks not having to commit to a bottle a night. So instead of having to, put a stopper on it and put it in the fridge for a consumption the next night, the cans are easy. It's a one glass shot. They can open up one can and drink it over 4 days. It also is a great segue to get people to try the product. So if they feel fearful to commit to a full bottle, they can commit to a couple cans and try it that way.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Especially if it's just you trying it and not, trying it into a big setting. Although it's not alcohol, so technically you can drink a whole bottle to yourself and, you're okay. But
It's really
um,
easy to do that with non-alcoholic wine, especially if it's
yeah,
like under 100 calories a bottle or something crazy like that. Like they're really sessionable, really consumable. But I do think that in a category like this, trial is so important. because I think there's these preconceived notions about non-alcoholic wine, or they don't know what it tastes like, or whatever. So I think to Jess's point, it's nice to have cans where if you're somebody who's found Shirley and really enjoys it, it's nice to be able to like bring over a 4 pack, share with a couple friends, and I think word of mouth marketing is still the best and will always be the best marketing. So if we can get somebody who's a big fan of Shirley and they're introducing it to their friends, that's going to be the best marketing we could possibly do.
Hmm.
Yeah, sure. So, Jess, putting wine in cans can be very challenging. How has that been for you guys?
I mean, knock on wood, but it's been pretty easy for us. Um, we obviously work with you guys on the SO2 level so that we're not going too high to the packaging facilities, but the packaging facilities that we're using are great, communicative. I'm also emailing constantly to make sure that there aren't any questions. So if anything, I'm probably over communicating. But I think that that's just built a better relationship with all of our partners.
Sure,
Um, and we're always looking to expand partnerships as well. So I always start those with, this is how we do things. Does this fit within your profile? And, if it does, great. We'll keep the conversation going. And if it doesn't, then we'll either pause or get them to where they need to be.
yeah.
So
Well,
I will say, Jess, it's been smooth since you've been on board, but we started with, I think this was in February, so I was maybe 3 weeks in or 3 months in, and we did a canning production. They were 12-ounce cans of our rosé and brut, I think, at the time, and it was a low point in my career at Shirley. I think I showed up to the co-packer. I think I spent 24 hours there. I had to leave and go to like a birthday dinner for a friend. Then I had to come back. We were still canning at like 3 in the morning. I was exhausted. I had no idea what was going on. They were asking me all these technical questions. I was trying to figure out what to do. And then I think I was so exhausted. There was just these stack of cans, and I was leaning up against them, and they all just like fell on me. And I was like, "This is, I'm just, I need to hire somebody to
no.
help with production. I can't do this anymore." So yes, it's been very smooth since we moved and found a great partner, and Jess, you helped onboard them. And I think uh, yeah, the wine in the cans is an interesting trend. And I think I feel like I hear different data points in traditional alcohol, and I know in terms of like cans popularity, and I know that non-alc is kind of this new category, and some brands have gone exclusively in can. Some brands are doing what we're doing in bottle and can. I think there's a place for both. I think you got to think about the formulation slightly differently, but I'm really happy how our cans have turned out. And like Jeff said, we got a great partner, and um, you know, I think be on the lookout for potentially some more canned products from us as well. We've got some stuff in the pipeline.
Hmm.
Exciting. Anything you can talk about, or is it all secret?
Uh, it's not all secret. I think that we're working on a bunch of different red projects. I think it's no secret that everybody wants a really great non-alcoholic red wine. I think everybody's trying to go after that.
Sure.
We've come out with a Cabernet, we've come out with a Pinot. So those are we're always trying to figure out how to um, kind of tweak it and improve those products. And then we've also just got some other, I'll just label them as red projects in the pipeline, potentially can, potentially bottle, um, that we're excited about.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to it for sure. Um, cool. So I know we've kind of talked about things changing as far as internally in your company since you got started. I mean, it's a startup, so every day is going to be different, right? But as far as the landscape of non-alc in general and non-alcoholic wine, have you seen any really big changes that have kind of caused your company to adapt to the market or to the competition or retail environment, whatever it may be?
Uh, I don't think they're like the competition doesn't. impact how we operate. I think that this is a really new category. This is an emerging space, and anytime that there's other brands that are doing really cool projects that customers are engaging with and enjoying, that's just going to be better for all the companies in the non-alc space. I think what we were all fighting together early on was kind of the preconceived notion that non-alc wine can't taste good. Only, people who don't drink would drink that. It's not for kind of drinkers. And I think maybe something that I've learned about the space is it's just consistent across the board that 80% of most of these brands customers are people that do drink, and it's very much this movement of mixing in some non-alc with kind of traditional alcohol. So I think that it's just been cool to see and get to know these different founders and brands that are kind of, and we're all building this category together. I think that the only thing that I've seen change on retail is when we started, I think there was a lot of like wait and see from a retail and distributor, and I think everybody in the last year, all the retailers, all the distributors, all the kind of partners you need to make sure you're activating on premise and on shelf have really started to understand that this is a real category with really legit brands and a lot of consumer demand. So that just the tone of the conversations has significantly picked up, and I would expect that, Q4 holiday season and dry January this year will be, even bigger than they were last year for non-alc. I think dry January continues to be kind of this main event. And even though that's 1 month out of the year, I think a lot of the data last year supported that people who do dry January just generally drink less throughout the year. And a lot of people continue dry January even into February, March. And it's really the beginning of a change in behavior, not just a 1 month kind of 30-day thing. And I think retailers are starting to understand that. And you're seeing non-alc sets start to be built out, which I think is really cool. Because I think for a while it was the way it was merchandised. It was, some random place in the store, bottom shelf, not really labeled accordingly. And it just took a lot of you had to know it was there and go specifically for it. Like your chances of stumbling upon it were very low, I would say. But now companies are getting kind of displays. There's specific non-alc sets, and some of them are mixed as well, which I think is cool, where you're next to an athletic brewing and a Shirley and maybe some other kind of non-alc spirit, which I think kind of paints the picture for consumers that oh, this is a really cool category of non-alc kind of across these different verticals, and there's a lot of neat things you can do.
Yeah, we're seeing the increase of the non-alc bottle shops as well. What's a big thing in Europe, but it's not too large over here. But we're starting to see some traction, and we're getting into those and doing Sunday displays and tasting with folks that are just passerbys and regular customers. So that's also been just a different turn that I've seen. I think if you would have said, even 3 years ago, oh, a non-alc bottle shop, it would not be heard of.
Yeah, not around here for sure. That's interesting. I get the question all the time, is the non-alcoholic wine industry, is this industry and brand driven or consumer driven? And it's without a doubt consumer driven. I mean, they are demanding these products. They're demanding access to them, better quality, more variety. And, you guys and other brands like you, as well as the retail outlets and distributors and things like that, are kind of stepping up to the charge. So I think that's great. I think it speaks a lot to how much this category is going to stay, because we're not here trying to just make a buck and start a fad. These are people deciding that they want, as you said, Ryan, healthier lifestyles. They're not just drinking, or they're not just not drinking in January. This is continuing on. The people who just want to go non-alc on a Tuesday, maybe drink on the weekend, maybe switch it up throughout the night, which is really great. And I think you guys are doing a great job, providing this much needed product, essentially.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. And definitely appreciate all BevZero support. And I think it's really hard to build a business. It's really hard to build a business in a new category. And so I think that good partners and even sharing knowledge with other brands and founders has been something that's been hugely valuable to us just to get to the point that we've gotten to in the last 2 years or however long we've been in business.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Great. Well, thank you. Any last words or advice you can give to fellow entrepreneurs and startups?
My advice is just do it. A lot of people have great ideas, and you just gotta like put yourself out there. I think that's the biggest. The early days are really hard. There's going to be a lot of failure, and I think that's what prevents people from saying, "Hey, I've got this cool idea. Maybe this could work." And non-alcoholic wine seemed quite silly, I think, potentially to a lot of people 2 years ago, and it even maybe sounded like I think I had a little bit of, I don't even know if this is going to work, but I never would have gotten to this point if I didn't just say, hey, we're going to find a winemaker, we're going to try to make a sparkling rosé, we're going to put it on the internet, we're going to create a label in 30 minutes, and we're going to have no shame, we're just going to put it out there, and we're just going to see what happens. So I think that's the mentality that is required to be an entrepreneur. So that's my advice.
Good one.
I would say just make mistakes and keep trying them out as well. We're constantly tweaking, whether those tweaks go into production. I mean, it's a full-time job for us to consistently kind of push our barriers and understand what we like and what we don't like and what the customers need and want. And, it's a lot of work doing that, and it's a lot of fun though.
Yeah.
Yeah, my other piece of advice is if you're looking for answers in the early days, the customers are going to likely have all of the answers. So try to get as many customers as possible and listen to them as much as you can, because they're going to tell you where to go.
Yeah.
Love it. Great. Thank you, guys. All right. Last thing, where can listeners find Shirley?
Drinkshirley.com, where you can buy it. You can follow us. IG handles Drink Shirley. And then if you go to our store locator, I think you can scroll down to the bottom of the homepage. You can go to our store locator page, and I think we've got over 100 different retail wholesale accounts across the U.S. So type in your zip code, and you can potentially find us locally. And we're working on getting in even more doors in 2022, so that we're very present for kind of the holiday season and dry January. So hoping to have some good updates on that as the year progresses.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, guys, so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I only see great things and success in the future for Shirley. Super excited to see what other projects you're working on. And yeah, just thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Zero Talks. We'll see you next month, and have a good day.
See y'all.